Just curious, what is the recurring motif that apply to the Navajo textile?
Recurring motifs, we see that stripes obviously are
Mm.
very, very important. How those stripes are arranged from simple in what we call the first phase, very simple stripes, to more elaborate stripes that then have, say, a motif across, signifying the Spider Woman, jagged motifs that are mountains or landscapes. There are many. There are motifs that are both significant to the Diné in their culture and are recurring motifs. You have this sort of zigzag of in English, what we call the eye dazzler blankets with lots of different colors. We call them eye dazzlers.
Connotation with the Spider Woman, which is for me is have like the similarities with the making of the Puakumbu textile, where they need to get the permission from the god to perform the design motif. So, in that case, I just want to know what are the challenges in ensuring the cultural sensitivity when interpreting the spiritual motif to the audience, to the public.
Story of the Spider Woman and her teaching and some other important figures in the Navajo history are stories that are seasonal. And so they are not to be communicated in certain ways during certain seasons. They can only be spoken of during certain seasons. And so we try to understand and be respectful of that as well. So there is a season for Spider Woman, and I think winter is when we're supposed to be quiet.
Do you face any problem on the conservation, especially on the natural dyes, the use of natural dyes or wool or the age of the textile?
Natural dyes are actually often more stable and they fade less
Mhm.
than synthetic dyes. Natural dyes tend to be more stable, and when they age, they also tend to age in ways that we find more aesthetically pleasing. Like they just become a paler version of their own color rather than drifting into another color. The way to avoid that, of course, is to limit light exposure. Wool is extremely tempting to moths. Everybody knows this.
Mm.
And there's a particular type of
Mm.
moth that is tiny little, it's called a webbing cloth moth or a webbing clothes moth, tiny little white moth. They do, as I understand, and this is a whole other profession, pest management, but as I understand, they are the most dangerous type of moth. Cleanliness is the best defense in a museum collection.
Understood. All right, now we have two more questions.
Okay.
All right. It's about the collaboration with the indigenous communities. So, does the museum works with Navajo weavers or cultural advisor, and in what ways? Beside to get the collection from them, so what kind of partnership influence the exhibition on, or also the interpretation decisions of the textile?
My department's relationship with the Indigenous community is an informal one, but a close one. The museum does have, there are formal agreements about how to reach out to the community. I can send you more information about that because there
Yeah.
is there is a formal organization.
Mm.
And there are formal procedures in the United States for
Mm.
ensuring information sharing and contact. Physical preservation is what we do, and we're moving into an era now where the interpretation that we've talked about, the
Mm.
communication from the standpoint of the indigenous communities and the meanings there, is where we're moving into, because we, as particularly a so-called encyclopedic museum like the Art Institute, um, what we can do is we can talk about the sort of larger our world of weaving. We can talk about the larger world of Diné arts and life. So we can contextualize the weavings within that because we have those resources and those objects in the collection. So we get an audience that is not necessarily an audience that's specifically interested in Indigenous arts, but if they come to the museum, they will encounter them. And if they're interested, they will learn. But again, back to the preservation question, we're also responsible for preserving these for the next generation, who we hope will be
Mhm.
even more knowledgeable and engaged. I always say to my staff, like, we're just here for a little while.
Mhm.
So as long as we do, if we leave some part of the collection in a better shape, better interpreted, better stored, if we do that, we've done a good part of our jobs.
Yeah, indeed, I agree with you because this is how I look on the indigenous object. It's not only for the textile because it's linked with the community before us. So at least by preserve this, not only from the weaver side, the artist side, but from the museum, the curator, the conservator, help to maintain and help this object, the indigenous object, to last long. So
Yes.
thank you. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, well,
I,
thank you.
yeah, I really appreciate it. I
Oh,
really
it's been a
appreciate all
pleasure.
the information that you share with me.